40 million people, a rich heritage, millennia of history, and still
The
no
dramatic
nation.
beauty of this landscape belies
How
a
is that
long
even
and complex
possible?
history, marked by both
Imagine a
profound
people
cultural
whose
richness
story
and
is
relentless
carved into the
conflict.
very mountains they
We
inhabit.
tell these stories not just to
These are
remember
the
the
Kurds,
past,
one of the
but to
largest
ensure
ethnic
our
groups
future
in the
is
world
never
without a
forgotten.
state of their own. Their homeland, a rugged, mountainous region they call Kurdistan, is not a country you will find on any official map. Instead, it is a sprawling territory fractured across the modern borders of 4 different nations: Turkey, Iran,
While diplomats
Iraq,
in London
and
Paris
Syria.
carved up the Ottoman lands,
Think about that
the
for a
Kurdish people
second.
began yet another exodus.
Your family, your culture, your history, split apart by lines drawn on a map by foreign powers a century ago.
Etched on
After
his
the
face is
collapse
the
of the
long
Ottoman
history of the
Empire
Kurdish
following
people,
World War
a
I,
testament to
the
enduring
victorious
resilience
Allied powers
amidst
briefly
shifting
promised
borders.
the Kurds
This
an
vast
independent
territory
state
remains
in
a
the
land of
1920
unresolved
Treaty of
questions,
Lausanne.
a testament to a
It was a
people still
glimmer of
searching
hope,
for their place in a shifting
a
world.
promise of a future.
For the Kurdish people,
But
these
promises,
mountains are both a
as the
sanctuary
Kurds would learn in
and
the
a
most
stage for a
brutal way
history
possible,
marked by
can be
relentless
broken.
struggle.
The treaty was never implemented.
Across the rugged landscapes,
It was
the struggle
replaced
for
by a
survival
new
continues.
agreement, the
This
Treaty
meager
of
fire
Lausanne,
represents both the
just
harsh
3 years later. And in this new world order, the word Kurdistan was erased from the map entirely. This single
These
act
ancient
of betrayal
borderlands
would
have witnessed
ignite a
empires
century of
rise and fall
conflict,
for centuries.
resistance,
But for the Kurdish
and a
people who call
desperate,
this rugged terrain
unending
home,
fight for identity.
Despite
A
centuries
fight
of
that
conflict and
continues to this
displacement,
very day.
the heart of Kurdish culture beats strongly in these mountains.
from
A
these
phantom
ancient peaks,
state.
we survey a land
A
defined by
broken
resilience.
promise.
But history shows
How
this territory has
Sykes-Picot and
constantly
Lausanne
been
unmade a
redrawn by
nation, one pen stroke at a time. Imagine a secret room in 1916. 2 men,
Driven from
a
their
Briton
homes,
and a
they sought
Frenchman,
refuge in the
are
high
hunched
mountains,
over a map of the
journey
Middle
etched into
East.
the long, complex
With a
history of their
ruler and a
struggle for
pencil,
survival.
they are carving up the
For the
dying
Kurds,
Ottoman
these
Empire,
borders have always
drawing
been
lines
fluid,
that serve their own
constantly
colonial
redrawn by the whims
ambitions,
of geopolitical
with zero
power.
regard for the people who
A sense of
actually live
community
there.
was palpable here in Mahmud.
This was the
Despite the harsh
Sykes-Picot
realities,
Agreement,
their culture and
a
resilience
secret
endured
pact
around
built
the warmth
on
of the
greed.
fire.
a history etched
At
into
this
the
very
mountains
moment,
themselves.
Kurdish
The struggle
fighters
for the
were
Kurdish
dying on the
people has been long,
battlefield,
marked
helping
by
the
conflict
Allies
and
win
unwavering
World War
hope.
I.
The winter of
In
1991
return,
brought
they were
unprecedented
given a
hardship
solemn
to the Kurdish
promise,
people.
a
As the
homeland,
world watched,
a
they
nation
faced
of
a
their
brutal
own.
journey through these unforgiving mountains.
For a brief,
Driven from their
shining
homes,
moment,
they sought
it
refuge in the
seemed
unforgiving
real.
mountains. It was a
The
journey measured not in
1920 Treaty
miles,
of
but in
Sevres
sheer survival
officially
against the
outlined an
elements.
autonomous Kurdistan. But promises made in war are often broken in peace. A new, defiant
The
Turkish
mountains remember a
republic
time
rose from
before
the
these
Ottoman
walls,
ashes,
before the lines were
rejected
drawn,
Sevres,
carving a
and fought
nation
to
without a
redraw the
home
map.
into the rugged landscape.
So the
For the
great
Kurdish
powers
people,
met again
geography has
in
always been
Lausanne
both a blessing
in
and a curse.
1923.
A landlocked nation divided
This
by
time,
powers far
the
greater
Kurds
than their
weren't
own.
even
From the
invited.
trenches of the 20th century
The
to the
promise
fight
was
against ISIS,
erased.
they find themselves caught
Kurdistan
between
was
shifting
wiped
borders
from
and
the
the cold
map,
calculus
its
of
people
global
divided
powers.
between the new borders of Turkey, Syria, Iran, and Iraq. A nation of millions, rendered stateless overnight. So what happens to a people when the world declares they no longer exist?
The dramatic beauty of this landscape belies a long
Think you
and
know the
complex
Middle
history,
East.
marked by both profound
There's a hidden
cultural
nation
richness and
struggle,
relentless conflict.
silenced for decades.
We tell these
you've never
stories
been
not
told
just to
about.
remember the past,
Picture this,
but to ensure
after
our
the
future
fall of the
is never
Ottoman
forgotten.
Empire, a map is redrawn by foreign powers. Lines are carved through mountains and valleys, splitting a single people, the Kurds, across 4 new countries: Turkey, Iran, Iraq, and Syria. Suddenly, you're a foreigner in
While
your own
diplomats in
home.
London and Paris
Your
carved up the
identity,
Ottoman lands,
your very
the
existence,
Kurdish people
is
began
now
yet
a
another
political
exodus.
problem. This wasn't just a redrawing of borders, it was the shattering of a nation before it could even be born.
Etched on
And the
his
world
face is the
simply
long
looked
history
away.
of the Kurdish people,
Now,
a testament to
imagine being
enduring
told your
resilience
language is
amidst
illegal.
shifting borders.
Your
This vast
children
territory
can't be
remains a
given
land
traditional
of
Kurdish
unresolved
names.
questions, a testament
Your
to a
music,
people still
your
searching for their
holidays,
place in a
your
shifting
history,
world.
all of it
For the
systematically
Kurdish people,
erased.
these mountains are both a
This
sanctuary
was the reality.
and a stage for a history
In Turkey,
marked by
they were
relentless
called
struggle.
Mountain Turks. In Iraq, their villages
Across
were
the rugged
razed.
landscapes, the struggle for
In
survival
Syria,
continues.
hundreds
This
of
meager fire
thousands were
represents
stripped of
both
their
the harsh
citizenship. This was a cultural war, fought not with tanks, but with laws and propaganda designed to make an entire
Kurds.
people disappear.
These ancient borderlands have
How do
witnessed
you fight
empires
back
rise
when the
and fall
world
for
denies
centuries.
you even
But for the
exist?
Kurdish people who call this rugged
But
terrain
you don't
home,
erase 30 million people
Despite
that easily.
centuries of conflict and
From the
displacement,
Zagros
the
Mountains
heart
to
of
the
Kurdish
plains of
culture
Syria,
beats strongly
a
in
quiet
these mountains.
resistance simmered,
from
then
these ancient
exploded
peaks,
into
we
armed
survey a
conflict.
land defined by resilience.
They fought,
But history
not
shows
just for
this
land,
territory has
but for the
constantly
right
been
to simply
redrawn by
say, I am a Kurd, yet, with every push for autonomy came a brutal crackdown, a cycle of hope and devastation.
Driven from their homes,
They were fighting
sought
for
refuge in
survival
the high
against
mountains,
nations that
a
saw
journey
their
etched
very
into the
identity
long,
as a
complex
threat.
history of their struggle
And
for
this
survival.
brutal fight for a
For the
homeland
Kurds,
is far from
these
over.
borders have always been fluid, constantly redrawn by the whims of geopolitical
They
power.
faced genocide,
A sense of
oppression,
community was palpable
disbelief.
here in Mahmur. Despite
Yet,
the harsh
they built
realities,
a home.
their culture and resilience
This is the
endured around
moment
the
their
warmth of
world
the fire.
shifted.
A history etched into
Imagine
the
the
mountains
year,
themselves. The struggle for the
1991.
Kurdish people has been long,
The dust of the
marked by
Gulf War is
conflict and
settling.
unwavering hope.
The
But
winter
for
of
the Kurds of
1991
northern
brought
Iraq,
unprecedented
the
hardship
real
to the
battle
Kurdish
is
people.
just beginning.
As the world watched, they faced a brutal
Saddam
journey through these
Hussein,
unforgiving
defeated
mountains.
but not
Driven
broken,
from their homes,
turns
they
his
sought
fury
refuge in the
inward.
unforgiving mountains.
A
It was a
brutal
journey measured
crackdown
not in
sends
miles,
millions
but in
fleeing
sheer
into the
survival against
freezing
the
mountains.
elements.
The world watches, horrified. And for the first time, it acts. A
The
safe
mountains
haven
remember a
is
time
declared,
before these walls,
enforced by
before the
American
lines
and
were
British
drawn,
warplanes.
carving a nation without a home
Beneath
into the
this
rugged
fragile
landscape.
shield of
For the Kurdish
protection,
people,
something
geography has always been
unprecedented
both a
happens.
blessing and a curse.
The
A
Kurds,
landlocked nation
for so
divided
long
by
a
powers
people
far
without a
greater than
state,
their own.
From
seize
the
their own
trenches of the
destiny.
20th century to the fight against
In
ISIS, they
1992,
find themselves
they
caught
hold their
between
first
shifting
ever
borders
free
and the
and
cold
fair
calculus
elections.
of global powers.
They forge a parliament, a government. The Kurdistan Regional Government is born. This wasn't just a political body, it was a defiant symbol carved out of tragedy. A sanctuary for
The
Kurdish
dramatic
culture,
beauty of this
language,
landscape
and
belies
identity.
a long and complex history,
For
marked
Kurds
by both
across
profound
Turkey,
cultural
Iran,
richness and
and
relentless
Syria,
conflict.
it became a
We
flicker
tell
of
these
what was
stories
possible.
not just to remember the past,
But this new dawn
but to
was
ensure
far
our
from
future
perfect.
is never forgotten.
The two dominant parties, the Kurdistan Democratic Party and the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan, soon turned on each other, plunging the fledgling region into a bitter civil war. The dream of unity was shattered by the reality of power. And all the while, Saddam
diplomats
watched
in
from
London and
Baghdad,
Paris carved
waiting
up
for
the
the
Ottoman
perfect
lands,
moment to
the
strike.
Kurdish people began yet another exodus.
You saw the headlines. Now, see the actual war. The turning
Etched on
point
his
against
face is the
pure
long
evil.
history of the Kurdish people.
Imagine a
A
black
testament
flag
to
spreading
enduring
across the
resilience
desert
amidst
like a
shifting
stain.
borders. This
A
vast
shadow that
territory remains a
consumed
land of
cities,
unresolved
enslaved
questions, a
populations,
testament to a
and
people still
broadcast its
searching for their
cruelty to
place
the
in a
entire
shifting world.
For the
By
Kurdish people,
2014,
these
the
mountains
Islamic
are both
State
a
of Iraq
sanctuary
and Syria
and a
was
stage
more
for
than
a
a
history
terrorist group.
marked by
It was a
relentless struggle.
proto-state, a caliphate built on fear, with
Across
its
the
own
rugged
army,
landscapes,
its
the
own
struggle for
territory.
survival continues. This
And
meager
it seemed
fire represents both the
unstoppable.
harsh
Conventional armies faltered. Governments panicked. And then, from the mountains and
Over
plains
Kurds.
of Kurdistan
These
and
ancient
northern
borderlands
Syria,
have witnessed
a different
empires
kind of
rise and
fighter
fall for
emerged.
centuries. But for the Kurdish people
These
who
were
call
not
this rugged
soldiers
terrain
from a
home,
superpower.
Despite
They were the
centuries of
Kurdish
conflict
Peshmerga,
and displacement, the heart of
Syrian
Kurdish culture
Democratic
beats
Forces.
strongly in these mountains.
They were men
from these
and
ancient
women
peaks, we
fighting
survey a
not
land
just for
defined
land,
by resilience.
but for their very
But history
existence.
shows this territory has
They
constantly
became the
been
world's
redrawn by
most effective boots on the ground. While coalition planes dropped bombs from 30,000 feet, it was these
Driven
fighters
from their homes,
with
they
aging
sought
rifles
refuge
and
in the
sheer
high
determination
mountains, a
who
journey
met
etched
the
into
enemy
the
face
long,
to face.
complex history of their struggle
They
for
fought
survival.
house to house in
For
places
the
like
Kurds,
Kobani,
these
turning a
borders have
city
always
of
been
ruins
fluid,
into a symbol of
constantly
defiance.
redrawn by the whims of
They
geopolitical
liberated
power.
town after
A
town,
sense of community
pushing
was
back the
palpable
shadow,
here in Mahmud.
inch by bloody
Despite the harsh
inch.
realities, their culture
They
and
paid a
resilience
price that is
endured around
almost
the warmth of the
impossible to
fire.
comprehend.
a history etched into the mountains
But in doing
themselves.
so,
The
they
struggle
showed
for the
the
Kurdish
world that
people
even
has
the
been long,
purest evil
marked
can
by
be broken.
conflict and unwavering hope.
The question
The winter of
is, after the
1991
dust
brought
settled,
unprecedented
what
hardship
was
to
left
the
for
Kurdish
them?
people. As the world watched, they faced a brutal journey through these unforgiving mountains.
Global
Driven from their
politics,
homes,
cold
they sought
hard
refuge
truth,
in the unforgiving
how
mountains.
Thank you
It was a
became
journey
death
measured not in
sentence for a
miles,
loyal
but in
ally.
sheer survival against the elements.
Imagine you've just fought the world's most feared terrorists, a death cult that horrified the entire planet. You bled for your
The
home,
mountains remember
for
a
your
time
very
before these
existence,
walls,
and for
before
the
the
safety
lines
of
were
distant
drawn,
nations
carving
that
a
barely
nation
knew
without
your
a
name.
home into the rugged landscape.
You are the
For the
Kurds.
Kurdish people, geography
For
has always
years,
been both
you
a
were the
blessing
boots
and a
on the
curse.
ground,
A
the
landlocked
West's
nation
most
divided by
effective and
powers far
reliable
greater than
partner
their own.
against the
From the
Islamic
trenches of the
State.
20th century to the fight
Your
against
soldiers,
ISIS, they
men
find
and
themselves
women
caught
fighting
between
side by
shifting borders
side,
and the cold
paid the
calculus of
ultimate
global
price.
powers.
Over 11,000 lives lost to liberate cities like Kobani and Raqqa from pure darkness. The world watched, called you heroes, and promised unwavering support. But in the brutal chessboard of the Middle East,
The dramatic
promises are
beauty of
just
this
moves in
landscape
a
belies a
larger
long
game.
and complex history,
Once
marked
the
by both
immediate threat of
profound
ISIS
cultural
was
richness
shattered,
and
the
relentless
calculus of power shifted.
We tell these stories not
The
just to
very
remember the
allies who
past,
armed you and
but to
praised your
ensure our
courage began
future
to
is
quietly
never
pack
forgotten.
their bags. Regional powers, especially Turkey, saw not heroes, but a separatist threat on their southern border. They saw your hard-won autonomy not as a victory for freedom, but as a dangerous spark. And so, the thank you came
While
in the form of
diplomats in London
diplomatic
and Paris
silence.
carved up the Ottoman lands,
The gratitude
the
was a
Kurdish
green
people
light
began
for
yet another
invasion.
exodus.
The same ground you liberated with your own blood was now being targeted by a NATO ally's warplanes, while your other powerful
Etched
friends
on his
offered
face
only
is the long
thoughts
history
and
of the
prayers.
Kurdish people, a
How does a
testament to
hero
enduring
become a
resilience
target
amidst
overnight?
shifting borders.
This vast territory remains a land of unresolved questions,
Forget what you think
a
you know.
testament to a people still
The
searching for their
Kurdish
place
future
in a
is
shifting
critical
world.
to global stability.
For the Kurdish people, these
Imagine you are
mountains
standing
both
on a
sanctuary
geopolitical
and a
fault
stage
line.
for a history marked
That is
by
the
relentless
reality for
struggle.
nearly 40 million Kurds today.
Across the rugged
They are a
landscapes,
nation
the
without
struggle
a
for
state,
survival
their
continues.
homeland
This
carved
meager
up
fire
between
represents
four
both the
powerful,
harsh
often hostile, nations: Turkey, Iran, Iraq, and Syria. You have seen their
of their
fighters,
cores.
the
These
Peshmerga,
ancient
on
borderlands
the
have
news.
witnessed empires rise and
They were
fall
the
for centuries.
indispensable
But for the
ground
Kurdish
force
people
that
who
bled
call
to
this
push
rugged
back
terrain
the
home,
Islamic State, proving their
Despite
military
centuries
and
of
cultural
conflict and
resilience
displacement,
beyond any doubt.
the heart of Kurdish culture
In
beats
northern
strongly
Iraq,
in these mountains.
they built a functioning,
from these ancient peaks, we
semi-autonomous
survey a
region,
land
a
defined
near
by
state,
resilience.
a beacon of
But
what
history
could
shows
be.
this territory has
But their
constantly been
reward was
redrawn
not
by
a country. It was something far more complicated and dangerous. The dream of converting that
Driven
battlefield
from their
bravery
homes,
into
they
lasting
sought refuge
political
in the high
recognition,
mountains, a
into a
journey etched
unified
into the
Kurdistan,
long, complex
is
history of
perpetually
their
just
struggle
out
for
of
survival.
reach.
For the
Why?
Kurds, these borders have
Because the
always
very
been fluid,
governments they are forced
constantly
to live
redrawn
under
by the
see
whims
this
of
dream as an
geopolitical power.
existential threat.
A sense of community was
Each
palpable
capital,
here in
from
Mahmud.
Ankara to
Despite
Tehran,
the harsh
has its
realities,
own brutal
their culture
strategy
and
to keep
resilience
the Kurds
endured around the
divided and
warmth of the fire.
powerless.
A history etched into
Today,
the mountains
the
themselves.
chessboard has
The
been
struggle
reset.
for the Kurdish people has been
Old
long,
alliances
marked by
are
conflict
fracturing,
and unwavering
new,
hope.
dangerous
The winter of
powers are filling the
1991
void.
brought unprecedented hardship to
The
the Kurdish
Kurds are
people.
once
As
again
the world
caught in
watched,
the middle,
they faced a
their
brutal journey
unwavering
through these
dream
unforgiving
facing its
mountains.
most
Driven
perilous
from their
moment
homes,
yet.
they sought refuge in the
And the
unforgiving mountains.
consequences of the
It was a
next
journey
move
measured
could
not in
reshape
miles,
the
but in
entire
sheer
Middle
survival
East.
against the elements.